All right, welcome to the recap show for the TVA podcast. I'm your host, Bryant Graham, and I've got our other host on for the first time, Troy Marcus.
What's happening,
Crazy,
everyone?
crazy weekend of college football. Had a couple crazy upsets. Florida knocks off Texas in the swamp, and Penn State, gosh, coming off a loss to Oregon and does not show up versus UCLA. So some crazy games, but of course, first one we're going to talk about is two Bama fans here. College game day, game of the week, Alabama Vandy.
Got to, man. And to piggyback off what you just said, Drew Aller, totally adamant. And don't ask him if they're still in the playoff hunt because Penn State is still in the playoff hunt. They probably just have to play Ohio State. Are they going to win? James Franklin's track record? Probably not. But don't hate us. But speaking of the Tide, Bryant, Vanderbilt, I don't know how many times over the past 365 days we heard about it. Diego Pavia talking ish. Clark Lee not caring about the history. It kind of felt like they used the Alabama game to kind of propel their season to a 6-win season. So glad we could have been the launch point for that. But a lot of uncertainty yesterday, a lot of nerves going into it. But what were your kind of like? How are you feeling leading up to it? You know, we get to Wednesday, we get to Thursday, we get to Friday, we have the game day anxiety. 2:29 Eastern time, 1 minute before kick. How are you feeling?
Gosh, I'll be honest with you. I felt confident that we were going to do well. I was just a little bit nervous, just with the history of kind of how the defense played last year, how we opened the season off. I knew the intensity was going to be there, so I wasn't worried about that. But just how were we going to adjust to the misdirection, the tempo, the run game? And last year we honestly, it was about 3 yards of carry to Vandy. They didn't scorch us through the run, but they just got those crucial plays when they need to, and we weren't necessarily making those stops. So it's kind of I thought it was going to be a higher scoring game. That was kind of my intention. That I was confident we were going to get the win. I was kind of on pace with kind of the margin that we had there, but can't lie and say that I wasn't a little worried. And you know, once the game started, they did pop a couple, and they got off to a really hot start.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was most impressed with was the intensity, how you were going to fight back, the willingness to get that turnover whenever Vandy could have gone up 14-0. Of course, we should have gone up as well. So we kind of, got back at the turnover they got for us. But, just the way that our defense fought back, yeah, you're going to give up a couple plays, but you had a high power offense. But the way that they fought and the way that they, especially in the second half, shutting down that Vandy offense, that high powered top 5 offense in the country, I was super impressed. And, we talked about it too. This was a make or break game for Kane Womack.
Legacy game here.
Yeah.
Legacy game. One of the things, and I think it kind of goes back to last year, was it always felt like when one thing with this team went wrong, when they got punched back, when it started to snowball, it just continued to avalanche, and they couldn't ever make a play to stop it. Nobody kind of felt like, all right, somebody's going to have to make a play to stop the bleeding. It never felt like it happened. We saw it happen a little bit last week with the adversity in the second half against Georgia coming out, get the ball to start the second half, go down, you miss the field goal. They've got momentum. Athens is starting to rock a little bit. Okay, what do we do? Fast forward to this weekend for Alabama was about as bad a start as you could imagine and about as perfect a start for Vandy. You get the ball, you got Simpson, you got the offense coming onto the field. He's clicking early. You go down 4th and 1 in plus territory. You go play action shot. You throw the first interception of the season, which we knew was going to happen. So go ahead and get that out of the way. But, you don't like to give them that hope. And then, like you said, you get popped. Like the third play, they bust a 65-yard TD, and it was shades of last year, even shades of last week with just not fitting the gaps and guys going 65 yards untouched. So I was really starting to kind of think, oh man, here we go again, but let's see how we respond. Let's give our guys credit. We get the ball back, we march down, we miss a field goal. And it's like, okay, this might be one of those days. And I think we texted each other like, all right, settle in. I don't think we're going to get to be comfortable here. But after that, you let the game settle in. The crowd kind of stayed in it. We have to give Bryant Denny a lot of credit for staying involved and making an impact in the game. The Tide got clicking. I think tying it up 7-7, finally getting the stop, and then getting the punt forcing the 3-and-out, getting the ball, and was just about as bad an offensive series as you could have. You take a sack on first down, second and 20, you run up the middle at second and 19, and then third and 19, how many play calls do you have for third and 19 at your own 8-yard line? So you punt the ball back, and then Vandy drives, they score, and guess what? 2 shovel passes, so you knew it was coming. And then getting the ball, the game changed to me. I know the Pavia fumble on the second drive, but getting the ball and scoring before halftime to
Yeah,
tie it up 14-14 totally changed the ball game in my opinion.
absolutely, and that just gave that confidence for Ty. And going back and looking at him, 74% completion, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, it's efficient as you can be. I mean, yeah, you have the interception in there, but other than that one, interception, he was flawless. And that drive specifically, he was zinging it downfield. He was putting the ball in the right spot. That touchdown to Germ,
Beautiful.
that was chef's kiss, baby. I
That's
mean,
it. NFL throw, no doubt.
yeah, and some of those plays that he was making, throughout the game probably happened three or four times. It's kind of like the play is broken. And last year we are used to Milrow escaping, and
Mhm.
we were grateful for those. But now you see Ty, he's running, he cuts back, he evades the defender, but he keeps his eyes downfield.
Yep.
And multiple times, I think last week, this week, he did it a couple times where he threw touchdowns off that. There's a
Touchdown to
couple of
Ryan,
plays
first touchdown of the game.
exactly, to the Ryan Williams, yeah, and Ryan Williams, makes the play to go, oh wait, Ty, I understand Ty's gonna be looking at me downfield, and he kind of changes his route up and gets open. So that gives me a lot of confidence that his vision downfield. To be honest, I'm not worried. Going into the
No.
following games, and we scored 30. Obviously, we had that backdoor cover. There was a lot of possessions where we had to settle for field goals, but
Yeah.
we made most of them. So I mean, that's good. And when we went up 9, that kind of gave us the cushion that we needed. Was
Yeah.
still kind of a little hesitant that maybe they were going to pull off a big play whenever we were up
Yeah.
by 3 and 6. But I mean, gosh, you got to give the defense credit. I mean that
Yep.
Womack knew what he had to do, and that's the difference in last year's the way this game started. 14-7. Knew we were going to be in the game the whole time, but
Mhm.
last year up until including the Florida State game this year, I've told you before, it kind of felt like, oh, this is one of those games where we're probably going to lose.
Yeah.
But this team is different. We saw it last week. We've seen it even, Wisconsin and Louisiana Monroe. You just couldn't really for sure know. But the past 4 weeks, this team's been different. The vibes are different. The team's different, and it gives me a lot of confidence. And another thing, speaking about the difference in this team, this is the second game in a row, and only the second game totally in DeBoer's tenure at Alabama where we have won the penalty battle, and that has been the most impressive thing to me.
I know, man. It's I don't even know what to say because it's been how many games where that's not been the case, and it feels like the two that have been the most pivotal, you know, they played, their most disciplined game, and it couldn't have come at better times. There was, it always felt like not so much for at least from my opinion were the penalties themselves, but it always just felt like the worst times. You get somebody like at Florida State, you got them third and 11, or you get an opportunity to get off the field on third down, but we jump on the quarterback as he's laying on the ground and give him a first down, and it's just these back-breaking penalties. But like you said, more mature leadership. This team is together. They took, DeBoer said it. Everything that they took after week 1 it was channeled back against the wall, Bama versus the world. And I don't know. I don't think you can have any sort of complaints about the way that they've played since that game. Yes, we can get hypercritical and say, yeah, oh, they're not finishing in the red zone. But guess what? When they needed to make a kick to make it a 2-score game, they made the kick to make it a 2-score game. So whatever's working, I think this team is different. They're wired differently. I don't know if it was their manhood getting tested. That's some of the things I've heard say, but I want to give the defense a huge shout out. 13 rushing yards in the second half from the defense. I guess if we bully Kane Womack long enough on social media, it's going to work. So I think we just need to start bullying him on social media every single week if that's going to get the defense to play like that. But man,
Yeah,
flying around and hitting. I mean, that 4th and 1 or the 3rd and 1 where they ran the read and Damani and Pierre got to the outside and took him down for a loss of 3.
Yeah,
I mean, oof, feel like that play doesn't get made. A couple of games ago, we certainly saw Castellanos run that for about a 40-yard gain multiple times. So I just got to give a huge shout out to Kane Womack and that Swarm defense.
absolutely, man. And yeah, and I mean that's the thing that you got to be impressed with, and it's a different mentality, and they're playing like they have something to prove,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's going to continue. Even I mean, just that Florida State loss is still there.
Yep.
Finally moved our way back up to number 8 in the polls where we started preseason, so we're finally back to where we were to begin with, but
That's
they still have a chip on their shoulder, and even Ty after the game said, there's a lot that he could work on, and there's a couple things, like the interception and a couple other things, not finishing drives, but he's still got that attitude of that Nick Saban attitude that he's
Yeah,
kinda taken over, and, DeBoer is too, so it's really good to see.
it is, man. And just a couple more positives we can get on to Miami and Florida State, but just Jam Miller, welcome back. Felt good to have a
Mm,
100-yard rusher. I couldn't tell you how about that drive at the end of the game after Sab picked Pavi off to go down and score and take almost 9 minutes off the clock, just
beautiful.
pounding them, man, gashing the ball. How many carries Caden Proctor get next week? He's got to get the ball. We got to keep
You
feeding the
gotta get
big
into him
fella,
again,
man.
right?
Yeah, dude, keep feeding the big fella. But offensive line, run game, Jam. Glad everybody. Maybe that's starting to click. That's been the critique of this team is they can't run the ball. Well, 100-yard rusher in an SEC game, you're going to need that. You're not going to, as good as this weapons and these passing attack is, you're not going to beat every team you play just trying to throw them. You're going to think about taking 9 minutes off the clock and then also getting points to make it a 2-score game. That's winning football. That's the
Exactly.
recipe. So,
6 yards a carry, yeah,
yep.
we ran the ball more than we passed it actually in that football game, so that's
Yes,
they're making a conceded effort to make sure that we have a consistent run game.
no doubt, man. You have to have it to win in that league. So, on to the next.
Yes, sir. So going into that next game, I'll just say roll tide. But going into that next game, Miami comes up with the win on the road over Florida State 28-22, won by 6. They covered the spread. It was honestly a lot. I think it was more of a win than that point. If you didn't watch the game, it's
Yeah,
kind of more of a defiant win than that point would suggest.
they were
Miami,
dominant.
Florida State
That
could
that,
do
that
no.
game was 28-3. Yeah.
Yeah, Florida State held on. Um, Gosh, but would you be surprised if I told you that FSU led in passing yards, rushing yards, and Miami had twice the penalties in that game?
I would think I would be shocked. If we looked at the box score, be shocked. It didn't even look, and it didn't look like that watching it either.
Yeah, so that was the case. Miami and again Florida State, they were going forward on fourth downs. I think they converted maybe 2 or 3 on one
Yeah.
drive. So obviously they were, they were going to get some trash time, yards, points, what have you. But the biggest key point in that game was that Miami had 0 turnovers. Florida State had 3. Castellanos had 2
Two
interceptions, and
picks.
that's the story of the game for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things. That's a matchup that we love. What, the number 2 rushing defense in the country versus the number 1 rushing offense. And so you and I have enough experience with Gus Malzahn. That opening script is going to be crazy. And it was great. He hit him with the big wheel route out of the backfield, which we've seen that happen to the Tide countless times watching him. And so
Yep.
you knew the opening drive was going to be great. But from that point on, they got a field goal in that opening drive. Miami's defense, I don't know how you eye test and also on the field. Like, I understand Ohio State is the defending champs. They're number 1. I get that. But, man, if I was an AP poll voter, Miami would be my number 1 team, and I don't think it would be close based on what we've seen eye test wise and on the field. I mean, I think Carson Beck is playing confident. He's hugging his teammates. That was a big thing. And so they're running the ball. Cristobal is going to have great offensive line play. The defense, Ruben Bain, defensive end, best player in the country, in my opinion. I mean, they were humming. And in the day that Florida beat Texas, Miami is now the state champions because they beat Florida State, South Florida, and Florida. So I'm not going to say it's all about the U, but they looked pretty damn good last night.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, that defense, and they did get 21 first place votes in the poll. Some people defending champs, they want to give it to Ohio
Yeah,
State.
for sure.
I'm with you. That Texas win doesn't look quite as good, and the game itself was a little sloppy. Still talented football team, but um, I mean, you got to eye test. You got to give the edge to the Canes right now.
Yeah,
They've been
they're
dominant.
playing. I don't know what they've got. Look, I mean, they don't leave the state of Florida until November, right? So their next
Gosh,
three
yeah,
games are all in Florida. I mean, a lot of confidence, a lot of swag. The U seems to be back, maybe for here, maybe for good this
yeah,
time. But when you have a defense like that going on the road, I mean, Doak Campbell is a very tough place to play, and Castellanos and Florida State, they've been really good this year. I think Virginia's better than people give them credit. So I don't hold that
mhm.
loss against them. But I mean, for a while there, I mean, that was just they were smothering them. I'm 28-3. I mean, my goodness gracious.
Yeah. And gosh, I don't understand how Miami can have this schedule and not go out of the state of Florida until November. It's kind of crazy.
Who
But
do we have their next three pulled up? Do we know
yeah,
that
so
by any?
they're playing Louisville at
Okay.
home, obviously Friday night. So
Okay.
kind of could be one of
Better
those
come
sneaky
ready to
wins.
play. Yeah.
Yeah, Louisville's a good team, four
Yeah.
and one. You got Stanford after that. That's an easy
Mhm.
win, and then you got SMU. Might pose a little bit of a challenge, but I mean, schedule after that, they play Syracuse, NC State, Virginia Tech, and then Pitt. I mean, looks like they. Gosh, if the upset doesn't come this weekend, they might really.
Yeah. They're gonna. Yeah. I mean, you might be looking at the ACC champ, number one overall team when this is all said and done. And I don't think you're crazy for thinking that based on through 6 games or 5 games, however many it is they've played. But yeah, I
Exactly.
was super impressed. But then also, ton of credit to Florida State to go down 28-3 and not quit. It would have been really easy to roll over and get blown out 55-3, but fight all
Exactly.
the way back, coming down, make it a 6 point game. I know people have differing opinions on how that goes, but mad respect to the Knowles for not laying down.
Yeah, and that team would have lost 45-3 or 45-10
Yeah,
last year.
yeah.
But it's a different Knowles team. They're not out of it.
No,
Two conference losses, so I mean, you're going to need to run the table.
yeah.
And
Still got to play Clemson.
I mean, if Alabama keeps rolling, that's a great win versus the Tide. So I mean, like you said, Clemson's going to be a little bit better. They're going to get some wins, I think. Uh, getting some confidence this weekend. So I think they're not out of it, but they are going to have to be near flawless going forward. But
Yeah,
yeah, Carson Beck, 4 touchdowns, 2027. Looks like he's going to
man.
be hard to beat.
Malachi Tony, that true freshman wide receiver they have, good luck. To any defense that's got to play Miami, good luck. I mean, he was just, I mean, it felt like every time he touched the ball, I mean, I think he had a touchdown called back. He ended with two, right? Even three, and had even
Yeah.
one called back. So, yeah, good luck.
Well, hey, we'll roll into these last couple upsets of the week that we
Let's do
had.
it.
Gosh, Florida 28,
Man,
29, 21. It was kind of bad there for a while. Gosh, I think it was 22-7, and then Texas made a little bit of a comeback.
special
Um,
teams, man. Special teams.
special teams,
Changed that game, dude.
yep, special teams, and Arch was sacked 6 times. I
I
don't know
mean,
if it's the Texas offensive line, probably a little bit of that, and I think he's holding on to the ball a little too much.
Florida, I mean, I don't know what it is about Texas. I, I'm not a quarterback evaluator. I'm going to defer to Sark on that. But yeah, I want to give a lot of credit first to Florida. I mean, at one point in
Yeah.
Florida had given up 2 defensive touchdowns the entire year, and they had lost 2 games. They were losing because of like pick sixes, and you just felt so bad for them. But Florida's defense was after them, man, was on that ass all day yesterday. And yeah, like you said, I don't know if the offensive line wasn't holding up. I don't know you Arch holding on to the ball. I don't know if there's a disconnect between Sark and Arch. I don't know what's going on with Texas, but for a team to be at least this talented, I don't know what's going on with them. But yeah, walking into the swamp, not an easy place to play. And I
Yeah.
don't think they're, I would rather have Billy Napier when his job is on the line more so than even Kirby Smart, man. I mean, my goodness, they're dangerous now.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, Florida's got one of the best defenses. Yeah, they've struggled, but it's been on the offensive side of the ball. I think, I mean, shoot, held LSU to 10 points for most of that game.
And threw 5 picks in that game and lost by 10.
Exactly. And,
Yep.
uh, USF, you held them to 18. You just couldn't score. You couldn't put points on the board. usually that's going to win you a football game.
Yep.
Miami, honestly, they held them in check for a while, and then it just got out of hand, and Miami made a couple late
Yeah.
touchdowns. So, I mean, you're doing the right things defensively, and we knew, honestly, I had a feeling I picked Florida State to cover the spread. I had a feeling they were going to win.
Mm-hmm.
Um, didn't know it was necessarily going to come at the expense of DJ Lagway completing 75% of his passes and having 300 yards. But that is what happened. I think after the bye week, they made an effort to get the ball
Yeah.
downfield. Like you said, special teams and defense holding up too. But
Always
I
special
think that was
teams,
the
man.
difference. And we got to remember, this is a team that some people thought was going to go 9-3 or 8-4 at worst. They still
Still could. Still could.
could. We've seen crazy.
Would any team feel confident going into the swamp and play and just no?
Mm-mm.
I mean, it's as talented a team as the SEC has to offer. For whatever reason, I mean, it just feels like this was going to be inevitable. But 9-3, 8-4, I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, this team can play with anybody on their schedule.
Yeah, and they've got Texas A&M upcoming this weekend.
Yep.
Obviously, that's on the road. Texas A&M is an 8.5-point favorite at the moment. Um, I don't know. I mean, I feel confident in Texas A&M, but Florida, they've got the juices rolling. If they come up with an upset, they've got Mississippi State coming to
Mm-hmm.
Gainesville. At
Mm-hmm.
this point, after last weekend, Mississippi State's been a great story, but you
It
know,
wasn't close yesterday.
yeah, and I could see Florida getting the win there, and then shoot at that point, then you're going into the Georgia game, 500. So we'll see what happens. But Billy Napier fighting for his job, and he had to get that one, so he got it.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah, and with Texas, I mean they've got Red River right next weekend.
yep,
No Johnny Mateer, so you got to have that one.
you
You
got it.
got to have that one.
Thankfully
I
for
know.
them, one of their losses is out of conference to the number one
Yeah,
team in the country, so
yeah.
they're not out of it. And Sark, said one loss, 0-1 in the SEC, but we got 7 more games to go. So
That's it.
I feel confident they can right the ship. Arch did end up with 300 total
Mm-hmm.
yards in that game. Um, so he actually had exactly 300 yards total. So he ran the ball a little bit as well. He had a couple good touchdowns. It was just a
Mm-hmm.
little too late because they, had
It was
trouble.
22-7. Yeah, you were right. It was 22-7 at one point. I mean,
Exactly.
they've got Tom Petty blaring over there in the swamp, so I mean, yeah, tough draw. But no, I'm with you. That team is too talented. Sark's too good of a coach. I don't see Texas going full implosion mode, but I do think Red River with no Johnny Mateer against the number 6 team in the country, that's either you lose that one and who knows, you win that one, propels you. So that's a big one for Texas next week. But I'm with you, man. They're too talented. There's no way that it craters.
Exactly. I think they'll make a run.
Yep, I do too.
Um, Gosh, and then the other disappointing game this weekend, Penn State falls to UCLA 42-37.
Winless UCLA. I
Win
mean,
for UCLA.
so what? I'm not going to lie. I mean, I don't. It was a 24.5 point spread, right? So you've got Penn
Yeah,
State
24,
flying.
27 maybe.
Yeah, I'm flying all the way to LA playing Nico and the Bruins, and who are going through I don't know what you call it, first time coaching. They're got their interim and their new coaching staff, first time play caller. So I mean, they just came out and looked inspired. Penn State flat. I don't know if it's a hangover or a disappointment. I think James Franklin said that we didn't do a good enough job of forgetting last week. We let last week linger around, and it cost us this week, which you hate to see that happen. But especially in Penn State's another one, man. That team is too talented. Uh, I don't see them going into full-on implosion mode. I was picking fun at Drew Aller at the beginning, but I still think it's a really damn good football team. You can't convince me otherwise based on their the track record and the talent on the team. So Penn State's got a lot to work on, but my goodness, went from a team that didn't even look like it had a pulse to going out there and just putting it on Penn State. And that game really wasn't close. I know it ended close, but UCLA was putting it on them for most of that game.
Yeah, UCLA had 5.4 yards a carry, and
It's a
gosh, the
good defense.
story of the day, Nico. He had under 200 yards passing, but he had 128 rushing and 3 rushing touchdowns. I think 4 or 5 maybe total touchdowns. So they were just consistently getting at it. So I don't know what happened to this Penn State defense that gave up, you know, 17 points in regulation to Oregon, one of the top offenses in the country, and then they to an 0-4 UCLA team. Um, Now, and that's one of those things like last year, Alabama didn't prepare for Vandy.
Yeah,
Nico's got talent.
no
So,
doubt.
it's one of those situations where, I mean, if you're not going to prepare, you're not going to walk in somewhere, especially with the jet lag driving up, going all the way to California. This is just another case of you got to prepare every single weekend.
Every week.
Game with the transfer portal, NIL, it's changed the game. And, these rosters are a lot more balanced. So I mean, this is just a pure case right there.
Yeah.
And you got to be prepared every weekend. You got to leave that's the thing that we love about Alabama so far is that they've left that in the past.
Mhm.
You know,
It would have been real easy. I mean, James Franklin said it, and he took full accountability for it of just not having them ready to play. And I mean, yes, we loved him. The Nico thing on its face hasn't really worked out, at least up until this point. But he's a very talented kid, number one overall recruit. Number one quarterback, led a team to the playoff last year. So, I mean, he's not a completely washed football player, and 128 yards on the ground. I mean, good luck beating any team, that's going to have a quarterback run for 130 on you. So Penn State, I don't know. They've still got to play Indiana. They still have to play Ohio State. So, crunch time for them, but they're a very veteran football team. James Franklin's coaching a lot of big games. People will make fun of him for not winning them, but um, great coach, done it for a long time at a high level. Penn State's certainly not out of it, even though I was making fun of Drew Aller at the beginning. I certainly believe that they are still alive.
yeah, and they've still got Indiana on their schedule. They still got Ohio State.
Yeah.
Of course, right now, history shows you that maybe they can beat Indiana. I think they've got a better roster talent
Mm-hmm.
wise or comparable at the very least. But history tells you you're probably not going to beat Ohio State. But guess what? If you
Yeah.
do, then you kind of right the wrongs, just
That's
like
it.
Alabama righted some of their wrongs.
That's
So
it.
you don't play the game on paper, just like the UCLA game wasn't played on paper. So you're not out of it yet. Like you said, you got time to make up. I mean, if they win Ohio State, bam, that changes everything,
Right back in it, man.
especially on the road. Um, we'll kind of wrap it up there. Quick look at next week. You've got Alabama taking on Missouri. Alabama 3.5 point favorite right now. Um, you got Ohio State, Illinois. That is a top ranked matchup. You got
Georgia Auburn.
Georgia Auburn. That is a sneaky game, and I
That is a
think
sneaky
that
game.
line is 3.5.
I would. I do not envy Georgia. That's a night game. That's 7:30 in the Bermuda Triangle. That is Jordan Hare Stadium. So I can't imagine the rituals that are being performed in that city right now to be prepared for that game.
Hey, it's all. I mean, Hugh's got to have this game, so he's going to dial everything up, and they had a bye. So
That's it.
I mean, I would not be shocked.
It's at 4, right? 4. The line is 4.
3.5. Yeah,
3.5.
3.5.
It's a
Um,
great. I don't even want. I hate the phrase. It's not a great slate. Any slate with football is amazing. Yes, some slates can be better, but I don't tolerate disrespect for slates of games. And you can't. How can you do that? You're telling me that like on May 23rd that you wouldn't be excited about some action? I mean, come on.
exactly, man. And kind of the funny thing that we never, it's always hindsight afterwards. Whenever it's not a quote unquote great slate from a ranked on ranked matchup, what that tells me is that I wonder what upsets are going to happen this
Yep.
weekend. So,
Because
but
you already know the weekends that the upsets take place are the ones where, like last weekend.
yeah, exactly. But it's an underrated slate. You got Oklahoma and Texas. I mean, in my opinion, that's a ranked on ranked matchup.
Yep, yep.
Texas is favored actually 2.5. So
Is there?
it's obviously because of the injury from
What
Achilles.
about this one? What about this one? What about Okay, hear me out. Arkansas going to Tennessee, the first game without Sam Pittman. It's Petrino back. Is
Mm.
there any like? It's the extremes for me. They either go up there and it's Petrino's audition and he empties the clip and they beat Tennessee again, or they get pummeled by 25. I don't see like competitive back and forth. I see win or they get blown out. That's
I,
what I see.
I agree with you there full heartedly. That'll be an interesting one. Tennessee currently a 12.5 point favorite.
Indiana, Oregon, man.
That's the game of the week. Indiana,
But
Oregon. This is the chances Oregon just going to show how dominant they are, or is Indiana actually going to show, hey, this team's not last year's team. We didn't, where we kind of just got in the playoff and we were a
mhm.
good team, but not that great. They're going to go out there and prove, hey, no, we're for real.
I agree with you. I think I love Fernando Mendoza. Indiana's quarterback is legit. They're not the same. They're not the Indiana team from last year. The Indiana team of last year wouldn't have beat Illinois by 30,000 points like this year's team did. But going to Eugene, man, Lanning is a psychopath in the best way for this sport. I know it's only Sunday. We're 6 days out, but man, I'm leaning towards Oregon taking it in dominant fashion.
Kind of agree with you there. And yeah, and Alabama, Missouri at 11 o'clock. So looking forward to that one. I think it's going to be a close game. I mean, a lot of these games are going to be tight in the
Yep.
SEC. You got a lot of, especially with Alabama's schedule, playing a lot of
Yeah.
ranked teams.
I mean, the thing that concerns me the most about that from the Tide's perspective is they've played 6 straight home games on it, and then they're also coming off a bye. They really haven't battled anything. I mean, they're come 2 weeks to prepare. You're probably relatively healthy. They got the bet to me. Ahmad Hardy's definitely the best running back in the SEC, if not the best player. And this is going to be their shot, and I'm sure they've got a lot of tricks up their sleeve.
Yeah, man. Well, we're excited as always. Great weekend this weekend. Always looking forward to the following weekend. I'm sure there'll be a lot of crazy action, and we'll dive in, whether it's us two or whoever, and go a little more in depth on those games coming up this weekend. But yeah, good talking to you, Troy. Glad we could get this thing kicked off, man.
Yeah, man. Good times. We're just going to be shooting from the hip around here. We just want to have the conversations that you'll have tomorrow morning, around the coffee pot at work. We're not going to be breaking down film. We just want to give you a little bit of ammo to take into the office with you. And don't quote us on this. Any bad quotes, you can quote Alexander Theodore.
Love it, man.
All right, man. Have a good night, man.
All right, you too.
See you, dude.